If you're a subsistence hunter, semi-subsistence hunter, a homesteader, farmer, or just somebody who likes to be prepared, there are 3 guns you must have. Hi everybody, welcome back to LocaCarnivore, the hunting, guns, and adventure channel for smart people. And you're smart because you're watching us instead of some of that intellectually bankrupt garbage that's floating around out there on YouTube these days. Well, today we're talking about the top 3 guns, the guns you must have if you are a subsistence or a semi-subsistence hunter, a homesteader, farmer, or just somebody who likes to be prepared. Remember, you're going to want to stay through the entire video. We've got great stuff for you from beginning to end, so stick with us, please. Thank you. What is a subsistence hunter? Well, subsistence hunter or semi-subsistence hunter is someone who gets the majority of their meat from living off the land. In other words, the game meat. And they might also fish and do other things, perhaps even trap, stuff like that. But we're mainly concerned today about actual hunting. So we're going to talk about the 3 guns that you must have if you are one of these type of people. And this also fits for you people who are homesteaders, because you're trying to live off the land, be more self-sufficient. Just people who want to be prepared in general, should they have to do that sort of thing, or if you have a farm or a ranch or something like that, this advice will be really good for you as well. Now, am I saying that these are the only guns you will ever need for this type of work? No, not at all. These are my suggestions. These are what I have found over the years of being a semi-subsistence hunter and homesteader to be the most useful. Hey, remember to subscribe to our channel. Give us a big thumbs up. And make sure you ring that bell so you'll get notified of every video we do. The other thing is, when I show you the various guns, what I'm talking about is types of guns, not necessarily an exact brand or exact model or whatever. I'm going to show you some specific stuff that I've found useful, but by no means is it exclusive to those. I'm not shilling for anybody. I don't think you should necessarily get what I have. If you find something else that's better price or fits you better or just fits your needs better, by all means, go ahead and use that. Now, inevitably, in a list like this, somebody's going to get their feelings stepped on. They're a fanboy for this cartridge or this gun or that gun. That's fine. Your mileage may vary. I'm not saying this is the end-all and be-all, but what I am saying is that this is a good place to start, especially if you're just getting into this sort of thing. So, keep in mind, if I don't mention your pet cartridge or I don't mention your favorite gun, it's nothing personal. It's just what I'm showing you that worked for me. Okay, keep in mind as well, we're going to cover each category, 1, 2, 3. One is not better than the other. Each of these tools are specific to a certain job, and they're necessary to do that job. So we're going to talk about each category in turn, but one is not better than the other. We're not going to go from the least desirable to the most desirable or vice versa. It's not a countdown. This is just showing you what we think is important. Right now, the LocaCarnivore project only gets support from viewers like you. So if you wouldn't mind, go down to the link below in the description, go over to our Patreon. Please contribute, we'd really appreciate it. There's some goodies you'll get for that as well. The first category of gun that you must have to do all this type of job is a shotgun. Now, this is the universal type of gun. Shotguns are fantastic, frankly. They are so versatile, they're so useful, and they're innocuous. Everybody's got a shotgun. Nobody's going to get upset with you if you're walking around on your property generally with a shotgun, depending on what you're doing and where you're at, of course. But, I mean, you got to be sensible. But shotguns they're the everyman's gun. Shotgun is just ubiquitous, and it's everywhere. And since they're everywhere, ammo's everywhere, generally speaking. What do I recommend for a shotgun? I would say, as far as gauge, I would go with the 12 gauge. Because the ammo is just so available, especially in the United States, 12 gauge ammunition is the most available. 20 gauge is fine, 28, most of the other shotguns, even a 410 is extremely useful, but the 12 gauge allows you to do quite a bit of stuff. The 410 is a little limited on larger animals, and the 20 gauge is good. In fact, I love 20 gauge. 20 gauge hits as hard as 12 gauge almost, but it is a lot lighter to carry, and the recoil is a little less depending on the gun you shoot it in. But the 12 gauge is the do-it-all gauge now. Everybody's pretty much settled on that. That's most of the ammo you're going to find. Hey, if you're looking for more content, our LocaCarnivore website has marvelous stuff for you. Also, we have a link there to our store so you can get some great LocaCarnivore branded merchandise. We'd appreciate you supporting us that way too. Thank you. What type of shotgun should you get? Well, there's a variety. I mean, this is a side-by-side double. Or you could go with a pump shotgun like this old Mossberg 500. There's semi-autos out there. There's single action break open. There's lever action shotguns. There's a wide variety. However, what I think overall is best, while the pump is a good way to go, one thing, we're talking not necessarily about multi-use, multi-roll guns for, self-defense, home defense, and hunting and all that. We're talking strictly doing the hunting chore. And the thing I don't like about pump shotguns is they're noisy. Even when they're locked up, that slide can make noise and give you away. So I tend not to use these when I'm trying to sneak up on dinner like a deer or something. But it's a good gun overall. Now, my primary recommendation for a shotgun is a double break open. And I like a side-by-side because the wide sighting plane really lets you pull lead on moving birds very easy. You can just use the outside of each barrel to pull the lead. Also, that wide sighting plane, when a bird does flush, it's much easier to get on target fast, in my opinion. Now, you can use an over and under. There's nothing wrong with a superimposed shotgun. The other thing, though, I do really like in my doubles is a double trigger. This happens to be a Bob White from CZ. There's a lot of other guns out there. Remember, I'm not talking specific brands or models. This gun works for me. It's a great upland gun. You want to get adjustable chokes. This particular gun has adjustable chokes, and that gets back to why you want the double triggers. I like the double triggers because you can choose which barrel to shoot without having to flip a selector switch of some sort. They're usually located on the safety. However, that can be a little noisy depending on where you're at. And I especially like it for turkeys because what I do is put like a modified and then a full or turkey choke in one barrel or the other. And I know which barrel is which. And it's not a front and back trigger, by the way. It's a left and a right trigger for the left barrel and the right barrel. So you can select which one, and you just simply have to move your finger to select the barrel depending on the range you have. Maybe a turkey is coming close and you want to use the closer in choke like the modified or an improved cylinder. Or it's just hanging out there, won't come into the decoy, but a full choke has still got enough range on it. You can select that very quickly by just moving your finger to a different trigger instead of flipping a switch, which might disturb the birds. The other thing I like is a double trigger is once you're used to it, it's the fastest follow-up shot there is. It's faster than a semi-auto, it's faster than a pump, it's faster than everything. This is why double rifles are used for dangerous game in Africa, is because that follow-up shot is the quickest you're ever going to get. Plus, you have separate lock work for each shot. So if one doesn't work, the other one is most likely to work, as opposed to a pump action. You can short stroke the pump. Semi-autos, they can have problems with the ammunition. If you don't have it tight to your shoulder and have enough resistance against the gun, it may not cycle. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. This is such a simple design. It's so effective. You could also go with a single barrel, but I like having two choices of choke, and I like having a quick follow-up shot, especially when I'm hunting upland game or things like rabbits, stuff that don't stand still very often. The other thing about the double is it's very easy to load and unload, and if you happen to have novice shooters, you're a novice shooter, it's extremely easy to tell if the gun is loaded or not. Just break it open and you're ready to go. The other thing I like about these type of shotguns is they have a tang safety, which when you're bringing that gun up, it's very intuitive to get that safety off. I do not like crossbolt safeties on my shotguns. I like that tang safety. The other thing I like about the double is if you live in bear country, you can change the chokes out to cylinder bore, and then you can use some Brenneke slugs, not Foster slugs. Don't use those deer slugs on a bear, but a Brenneke slug. Two of these put into one of these turns this into a poor man's side-by-side, a double express rifle. All right, let's talk about the second category of gun, and that would be a centerfire hunting rifle. Bolt action. Now there's a lot of choices out there. I'm not dissing on anything else. If you want to use a semi-auto, if you want to use a lever gun, you can use a pump, whatever. Those will work just fine. But what I'm talking about is a centerfire hunting rifle, and in a reasonable caliber. I would recommend of all the cartridges out there, and again, I'm going to step on some fanboy's toes here in about 2 seconds, but I would recommend, depending on where you live, either a 308, which is probably the best all-around choice, frankly, because the ammo is so available. If you remember back in the dark days of the ammo shortage in the 2020, 21, 22, right in there, about the only thing that was left on the shelf half the time was 308, especially for hunting ammunition. So the 308 is probably your best choice from that perspective, and it is suitable for just about every creature that walks in North America, except maybe the biggest bears, but even then, with the right bullet and proper placement, it's not going to be a bad choice. It'll do everything that a 30-06 will do. Oh, here come the 30-06 fanboys. The 308 is effective on deer out to easily out to 600-700 yards, and on elk or moose size animals 300 yards, 400 on the outside with the right bullet again and the right gun. If you live in an area where there's larger animals, you do a lot of elk or moose or a lot of bear hunting, especially if you have to deal with brown bears up in Alaska, you would want probably, in my opinion, a 300 Winchester Magnum. This happens to be a 300 Win Mag. There's a lot of other choices out there. Trust me, I've used other cartridges. They work just fine. But the 300 is that sweet spot. The ammo is readily available. It definitely hits a lot harder than a 30-06 will. It will shoot very long range. This gun, with the proper ammunition and the skill set, is a genuine 1,000-yard elk killer if you need to do that. I'm not recommending you shoot at animals that far away. That's a whole other subject matter. But it can be done with a 300, and you don't need any more exotic cartridge than that. It's a very good cartridge. It's easy to reload if you're into reloading, as is the 308. And both the 308 and the 300 Win Mag are easy on guns. They tend not to burn out barrels like a lot of other cartridges can. The reason I like the bolt action, it's not fussy about its ammunition. If you read the owner's manuals for a lot of semi-automatics, especially AR platforms out there, the manufacturers often are very specific about do not use soft-nosed bullets. They want you to use a bullet that mimics full metal jacket as much as possible. So that means you have to use a tipped bullet, which generally is more expensive than a soft-nosed bullet. So instead of just getting some off-the-shelf, round-nosed Remington green and yellow box type ammo, or some Federal PowerShock or Winchester PowerPoint, any of those inexpensive ammos that are all soft point, you have to go with the tipped ammunition, which means more exotic, more expensive ammunition, which may also be harder to find. So nothing against the semi-autos, but the bolt gun is going to be more reliable overall. Tends to be a little more accurate, and it's less sensitive to weather conditions. Now an AR with the dust cover up is very impervious to weather. I mean, there's no doubt about that. However, this gun, if you get some snow in here or something, you can break that out with the bolt. It's easy to run. Also, the gun is super simple to repair in the field. If you have to, you can take the bolt apart in minutes, fix the problem, and get back on with your day. So it's just, overall, I think it's a better choice for most conditions. What do you think are the best subsistence hunting or homesteading or farmer type guns? Go down in the comments there, let us know. And remember, the comments that you give us help us make better videos and give us ideas for more videos too. Okay, we talked about shotguns and we talked about centerfire hunting rifles for hunting big game. So what's that third category? Well, in my opinion, it's 22 rimfire. Now, I would say that you don't necessarily have to go with the 22 Magnum or 17 HMR Magnum or any of those for the reason that the ammo is more expensive. It's also sometimes harder to find, and unless you need that range with a lot more punch, then you don't need to go up to that. Now, if you need that much more range and that more punch, a 223 or something like that, especially if you're hunting predators, stuff like that, would probably be the way to go. 22s, however, they're so versatile. They're great for small game. They're great for varmints. You can clean up the barnyard and get rid of critters that are trying to chew on your critters or whatever. And so it's a great way to go. They're lightweight, no recoil, no significant muzzle blast. Still need to wear hearing protection, don't get me wrong there, but not a lot of significant muzzle blast. Great for younger shooters, great for people who are recoil sensitive or are just learning how to shoot. And if you're somebody who's just learning how to shoot, this is where you want to start, is with the 22. Now, what kind of 22? There are so many kinds. There's lever actions, bolt actions, pump actions, semi-autos, brake opens, you name it. Overall, for subsistence hunting, I like a semi-auto. Yeah, they can be somewhat fussy on ammo, although this is the Ruger 1022, which is probably, frankly, it's the best-selling semi-auto 22 ever built. They sell gazillions of them and have since they came out with them decades and decades ago. The only thing you have to be careful of, you can't have ammo that's way too hot, and if you use like subsonics, you may have to manually cycle the action, but that's not really a big deal for most of the stuff you'll do with the 22 rimfire. Now, I always like to have a optical sight on a 22 because, remember, we're usually shooting very small animals, rabbits, grouse size animals, even turkeys. If you're using these on turkeys, though, you want to aim for the head. Don't put one into the body because those feathers are like Kevlar, and this just isn't going to be enough, generally speaking. So when you get down to it, the 22 is one of your best bets. Please share our video with everybody. It helps us a lot on the channel, and we'd appreciate your support that way. And as far as the optics go on these guns, you don't have to get crazy here. This is just a fixed 4 power. It's an old Burris that I had hanging around. I took it off another rifle, put it on this. There are rimfire specific scopes out there, however, which have the parallax adjusted down to like 25 or 50 yards. The parallax on a standard scope is going to be, without parallax adjustment, it's going to be at 100 yards. I've never found it to be a problem, though. Some people would be picky about it, but I've never had any issues hitting. But I like to be able to magnify so I can get a really good bead on what I'm looking at, especially if they're like in some cover or they're in shadow or something like that. It really makes things go a lot easier having that optic on there. The nice thing about the 22, they're very light, generally speaking, so you can carry one of these to your hunting camp, and while if you're not out with your big centerfire rifle looking for big game, you can use this to help supplement your diet while you're in hunting camp with upland birds or rabbits or whatever, squirrels, whatever it might be. So it's a great choice all around because it's lightweight. And they even make ones that take down now. Ruger's got a number of them, so do other companies. So you can put it in a backpack or keep it on your horse or whatever you're doing, tuck it in the truck, whatever you want. And so you're ready to go. Great survival gun. If you had nothing else, you can feed yourself with this. All right, well, that's a brief overview of the 3 guns that you must have if you're a subsistence, semi-subsistence hunter, or a homesteader or farmer, or just somebody that likes to be prepared. Hope you learned a lot. Thanks for staying with us all the way through. And thank you for taking your valuable time to watch LocaCarnivore today. And remember, the ultimate act of resistance is insisting upon facts. We'll see you next time on the LocaCarnivore.